The holographic display cast an eerie blue glow across Jade Winter's face as she studied the peculiar signal patterns. The Botanical Research Station, perched on the edge of deep space, had picked up something unprecedented: crystalline formations with organic properties, emanating from an uncharted planet in the Cygnus sector. Jade ran her fingers through her short dark hair, her green eyes fixed on the readings. After 15 years of searching for exotic plant life across the galaxy, this could be her breakthrough. The signal suggested properties unlike anything in the known universe, a perfect fusion of crystal and organic matter that seemed to pulse with its own energy. "Dr. Winters, the Council is requesting your presence," announced the station's AI, interrupting her thoughts. She sighed, knowing what was coming. The Interplanetary Botanical Council had been skeptical of her theories about crystalline organic hybrids. But now she had proof. The council chamber was a stark contrast to her cozy lab, all chrome and harsh lighting. 5 stern faces stared down at her from the elevated platform as she presented her findings. "The signals indicate a possible new form of life," Jade explained, projecting the data. "If we mount an expedition dash..." "Out of the question," interrupted Council Head Richards. "We cannot justify the resources based on theoretical readings." Jade felt her temper rising but kept her voice steady. "With all due respect, this could revolutionize our understanding of botanical evolution. The energy readings alone suggest applications we can barely imagine." Before Richards could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The main screen flickered to life, showing a massive ship of unknown design dropping out of hyperspace nearby. Its crystalline surface caught the light of nearby stars, creating rainbow refractions across the chamber. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," demanded station security. There was a moment of tense silence before a response came, not in words, but in a cascade of mathematical equations and botanical data that made Jade's heart race. The aliens were speaking her language. "They're responding to our research signals," she breathed, quickly translating. "They're inviting us to join them?" The council erupted in argument, but Jade was already running calculations. The alien ship's design incorporated the same crystalline patterns she'd been studying. This wasn't just first contact, this was confirmation of everything she'd theorized about advanced botanical evolution. She made her decision before the council could stop her. "This is Dr. Jade Winters," she transmitted. "I accept your invitation to collaborate." The council's protests faded as a beam of prismatic light engulfed her. The last thing she saw was Richard's outraged face as she dematerialized from the chamber. Whatever waited aboard that ship, it was worth the risk to unlock the mysteries she'd spent her life pursuing. Jade materialized in a vast chamber that seemed to be alive. Walls of crystalline matter pulsed with bioluminescence, and the air itself felt charged with possibility. As her eyes adjusted, she realized she wasn't alone. A tall figure stepped forward, humanoid but clearly alien, with skin that shimmered like opals and eyes that held ancient wisdom. "Welcome, Dr. Winters," it said in perfect English, its voice resonating like crystal chimes. "We've been watching your research with great interest. My name is Varen, and I believe together we can unlock the greatest botanical secret in the universe." Jade looked around in wonder, knowing her life's work had led to this moment. The universe, it seemed, had much more to teach her about the connection between life and crystal, between alien and human, between science and wonder. And she was ready to learn. The crystalline laboratory aboard Varen's ship defied everything Jade knew about botanical research. Suspended in preservation fields were specimens of flora that seemed to bridge the gap between mineral and organic life. But none compared to the sight at the chamber's center, a flower that appeared to be carved from living starlight. "The stellar bloom," Varen explained, his opalescent features reflecting its glow. "The last of its kind, and the key to saving my people." He revealed that his species, the Lumini, were suffering from a devastating genetic degradation. The stellar bloom's properties could reverse the damage, but their last specimen was dying. We need your expertise, Dr. Winters, Varen continued. Our attempts to synthesize it have failed. Your research into crystal-organic hybridization might be our last hope. As Jade studied the flower's complex structure, her equipment detected something extraordinary. It wasn't just a hybrid, but a complete fusion of crystal and organic matter at the quantum level. This goes beyond anything I've theorized, she admitted. Synthesizing it would require elements that probably don't exist in our known universe. Perhaps not in our known universe, Varen agreed, but there are places we haven't looked. He activated a holographic map showing 3 distant planets. These worlds contain theoretical elements we need. But they're highly unstable, toxic to my kind. However, humans are adaptable, Jade finished, understanding dawning. You need me to go where you can't. The journey will be dangerous, Varen warned. These planets exist in extreme conditions. And we're not the only ones seeking the stellar bloom. There are those who would weaponize its properties. Jade approached the dying flower, its light pulsing weaker by the moment. She thought of all the times she'd been dismissed as a dreamer, told her theories were impossible. Now she stood at the threshold of proving everything she'd believed about the connection between crystal and organic life. When do we start? She asked. Varen's expression softened with something like hope. There's something else you should know, he said quietly. The sync between human and Lumini DNA is remarkable. It's why you can survive where we cannot. But it also means the degradation affecting your people could eventually affect humans, Jade realized. The stakes had just gotten higher. This wasn't just about saving one species anymore. They spent the next hours preparing, Varen teaching her to use Lumini technology while sharing the complex properties of the stellar bloom. Jade couldn't help noticing how his crystalline features caught the light, how his movements held an otherworldly grace. She pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on the mission. As they prepared the ship for their first destination, alarms blared. A fleet of dark ships had emerged from hyperspace, raiders who'd caught wind of their discovery. We must go, now. Varen commanded, his hands flying over the crystal controls. The ship hummed to life as the raiders opened fire. Jade watched in awe as the crystalline hull absorbed and redirected the energy attacks. They made the jump to hyperspace just as the raiders breached the station's perimeter. Jade's last glimpse of normal space showed her research station erupting in flames. There was no going back now. In the quiet of hyperspace, Varen approached her. I apologize for dragging you into this conflict, he said softly. Jade shook her head, watching the strange geometries of hyperspace twist around them. I've spent my life being told my theories were impossible, she replied. Now I have the chance to prove them right and save 2 species in the process. I'm exactly where I need to be. Varen's eyes met hers, and something unspoken passed between them. They were from different worlds, different forms of life entirely. Yet as they hurtled through space toward their first challenge, Jade felt a connection forming that transcended both their species, a shared understanding that some mysteries were worth any risk to solve. On the surface of Nexus Prime, the first planet on their list, crystalline storms raged across a landscape of metallic forests. Jade's environmental suit crackled with energy as she collected samples of the rare minerals they needed, each one a crucial component for synthesizing the stellar bloom. Varen monitored from orbit, his voice steady in her calm as he guided her through the treacherous terrain. The element we need forms in the heart of these storms, he explained. But the crystalline discharge will be lethal to anything with organic matter. A massive storm front approached, the sky fracturing into prismatic shards. Jade sprinted between towering crystal spires, her sensors detecting the perfect mineral composition ahead. The storm's edge crept closer, disintegrating everything it touched. She reached the formation just as the storm hit. The protective field Varen had designed held, but barely. As she extracted the sample, her suit's integrity began to fail. Varen, I need extraction, now. The teleportation beam barely reached her through the storm's interference. She materialized on the ship's deck, clutching the precious sample as her suit dissolved around her. Varen caught her before she fell, his crystalline form cool against her skin. Their success was short-lived. Raiders had followed them, led by a mysterious figure who seemed to know too much about their mission. After a harrowing chase through an asteroid field, they escaped, but Jade noticed something odd about their pursuers' tactics. "They're not trying to stop us," she realized. "They're letting us do the hard work, waiting to strike when we have everything we need." Varen's expression darkened. "There are factions among my people who believe the stellar bloom should be weaponized. They see its power as a means of conquest rather than healing." The second planet, Taurus Beta, presented different challenges. Its crushing gravity meant Jade had to pilot a specially designed probe while Varen used the ship's systems to maintain a stable orbit. As they worked in tandem, their coordination became almost telepathic. During the long hours between planetary expeditions, Jade learned more about Lamini culture. Varen taught her their crystalline music, songs that seemed to resonate with the structure of reality itself. She shared Earth's poetry, watching his fascination with human metaphors and emotions. The third planet nearly killed them both. A massive solar flare knocked out their shields, forcing them to take shelter in a magnetic cave system. Trapped together for 3 days, they talked about everything, their hopes, fears, the weight of their mission. "Your people create art about love spanning the stars," Varen said softly in the darkness. "I never understood until now." Jade's heart raced, but before she could respond, their pursuers found them. The ensuing battle revealed their enemy's identity, Varen's own sister, Lasara, leader of the militant Lamini faction. "You're a fool, brother," Lasara's transmission crackled through their comms. "The bloom's power could make us gods." They escaped, but barely. As they made the jump to their final destination, Jade treated Varen's wounds, her fingers tracing the crystalline patterns of his skin. "Why didn't you tell me about Lasara?" "Because I feared losing your trust," he admitted. "And somewhere along this journey, that became more frightening than failing our mission." The weight of everything unsaid hung between them as they prepared for their final challenge. They had all the components they needed, but synthesizing the stellar bloom would require something neither of them had anticipated, a fusion not just of elements, but of their two species' life forces. Deep within the ancient ruins of a Lamini outpost, Jade and Varen prepared for the synthesis ritual. The chamber's crystalline walls hummed with accumulated knowledge of 1,000 generations. Their collected elements floated in a complex array, waiting to be merged. "The process will require both of us," Varen explained, his voice tight with concern. "My people's essence, combined with your human adaptability. But the energy required, it could kill us both." Before Jade could respond, explosion rocked the chamber. Lasara's forces had found them. Through the smoke emerged Lasara herself, her crystalline form darker than Varen's, shot through with veins of obsidian. "How touching," she sneered. "My brother and his human pet, trying to save our dying race through peace." Her soldiers surrounded them, weapons ready. The bloom's power belongs to the strong. But Jade noticed something in Lasara's movement, deterioration, far worse than Varen's. "You're not after weapons," she realized. "You're dying faster than the others." Silence. Lasara fired, the blast catching Jade in the shoulder. Varen moved to help her, but Jade caught his eye, a silent plan forming between them. "You know I'm right," Jade continued, drawing Lasara's attention. "That's why you followed us, you need the cure more than anyone." While Lasara focused on Jade, Varen quietly initiated the synthesis sequence. The elements began to align, energy building. Lasara noticed too late. "Stop them," she commanded, but the reaction had begun. Energy coursed through the chamber, connecting all present, human, Lamini loyal and rebel alike. The power threatened to tear them apart at the molecular level. Jade grabbed Varen's hand, their energies intertwining. Where their species met, something new formed, not human, not Lumini, but a bridge between worlds. The elements swirled faster, responding to their unified force. Through searing pain, Jade saw Lysara collapse, the degradation overtaking her. Despite everything, Varen reached for his sister, including her in their circle. The energy peaked, blinding white. When Jade awoke, a new stellar bloom floated before them, more magnificent than the original. Around them, fallen Lumini were stirring, their crystalline forms renewed. Lysara lay unconscious but healing, the darkness in her structure fading. Varen helped Jade stand, their touch still electric with residual energy. You risked everything to save her, Jade said softly. As you risked everything to save us all, he replied. Perhaps that's what the bloom was meant to teach us, that the greatest power lies not in conquest, but in connection. The discovery of synthetic stellar bloom changed everything. As news spread across the galaxy, both human and Lumini civilizations faced a new era of possibility. The bloom's properties revolutionized not just medicine, but energy systems, space travel, and the fundamental understanding of life itself. In the Lumini capital, Jade watched their scientists work alongside human researchers, barriers between species dissolving. The genetic degradation was reversing across their population. Even Lysara, now recovered, had dedicated herself to peaceful applications of their newfound knowledge. But for Jade and Varen, a more personal challenge remained. They stood in the crystal gardens, surrounded by the first new generation of stellar blooms, their creation now multiplying naturally. The Council wants me to lead the new Interspecies Botanical Institute, Jade said, watching light play across Varen's features. And your people need you here. Varen touched a nearby bloom, its light pulsing in response. Our discovery proved that the greatest achievements come when barriers fall. Perhaps. He hesitated, perhaps that applies to hearts as well as science. The quantum resonance they'd shared during the synthesis had changed them both. Medical scans showed their cellular structures had partially merged, not human, not Lumini, but something entirely new. They were living proof that evolution didn't have to mean leaving things behind. The universe is vast, Jade said, taking his crystalline hand. But I've never felt more at home than in these impossible spaces between worlds. Their kiss sparked with crystalline energy, their unique biology creating auroras in the air around them. The stellar blooms responded, filling the garden with waves of luminescence that rippled out into the cosmos. As they planned their future, a life of exploration, discovery, and bridge building between worlds, Jade thought about all the times she'd been told that some barriers couldn't be crossed. Yet here she stood, her hand in Varen's, their merged biology defying everything known about the limits of life and love. The stellar bloom had been just the beginning. Together, they would discover what other wonders waited in the spaces between stars, between species, between hearts brave enough to reach across the void. Word count, 2014. The story concludes with humanity and the Lumini entering a new age of cooperation and discovery, while Jade and Varen's unique bond symbolizes the unlimited potential when differences become strengths rather than barriers. The themes of scientific curiosity, trust, courage, and love transcending boundaries weave throughout the narrative, creating an engaging story about the power of connection and understanding.